Director Cotel,
Here.
Director Lewis,
Here.
Director McAllis,
Here.
Director Melvin,
Here.
Director Payne,
Here.
Director Ross, Director Troiani,
Here.
Chairman Dillard.
Here.
We have a quorum of 14 present with 2 absent.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chairman. And I want to welcome Director Tom Cotel to the board. You'll be an excellent addition. You're going to replace somebody that was, a great member, but we are delighted to have you, Tom. And, we welcome you. And there are no bad questions, so always feel free to chime in, give your input, but ask any questions that you have. And if you want to say anything to the board or just tell them what you do in your day job, you're more than welcome to do that.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I look forward to working with everybody on the board in the future going forward, and I look forward to getting to know all of you on an individual basis. So thank you.
Thank you, Tom. You're a great appointment, so welcome. All right. Item 3A is the approval of the minutes for the meeting we held on August 24th of 2017. Any comments or questions? If not, can I have a motion and a second? Director Ross moves that we approve those minutes, seconded by Director Fuentes. Audrey, why don't you take a roll call on this so we've got a baseline roll call?
Okay. Director DeWitt?
Yes.
Director Durrani?
Yes.
Director Frega?
Yes.
Director Fuentes?
Yes.
Director Higgins?
Aye.
Director Hobson?
Yes.
Director Cotel?
Aye.
Director Lewis?
Yes.
Director McAllis?
Aye.
Director Melvin?
Yes.
Director Payne?
Yes.
Director Ross?
Yes.
Director Troiani?
Yes.
Chairman Dillard?
Yes.
14 ayes and 2 absent.
Thank you. Item 4 is the public comment segment of the meeting, and we have no speakers scheduled for today, so we'll go on to item 5, which is Executive Director Leanne Redden's report. Leanne?
Good morning, everybody. So much of this has been covered, but I think it bears some statements again. The state is roughly 15 months behind on their ASA and AFA payments to us. That's the equivalent of 9 months in arrears on PTF. So we just received, though, an email, so slightly good news, some good news, I should say, from the State Comptroller that the RTA will be receiving $10.7 million of PTF funding next week. So we'll look for that in the bank. That will effectively reduce the state's delinquency to $447.7 million. So it's still a very large number, but every bit counts. And just as an added note to the year-to-date cost of carrying this debt for us is $3.8 million so far and counting. So more broadly on the state front, the General Assembly is scheduled to be back in session, veto session, October 24 through October 26, and again November 7 through November 9th in order to take up legislative items vetoed by the governor. The RTA's short-term borrowing extension, House Bill 3004, was subject to an amendatory veto by the governor in August, meaning that a portion of the bill was eliminated by the governor and sent back to the General Assembly for consideration. That language in the bill was removed through the governor's executive action and was unrelated to anything specifically in our borrowing bill. It was just to our extension of authority. It was just tacked onto that legislation. A motion has been filed with the General Assembly to accept the governor's amendatory veto, but it remains unclear whether there will actually be enough votes to successfully accept that veto and essentially pass our legislation. The General Assembly would have to accept the governor's veto with a supermajority of votes in both chambers in order for it to become law. So we're continuing, Jeremy's continuing to work on that. I will probably be down in Springfield too for a little bit through veto session as well. We're continuing to consider other options to attempt to pass the measure, including reintroducing a short-term borrowing extension language on a new bill. The governor's administration has announced that the state would begin also borrowing this week in order to pay back their estimated $16 billion in state backlog. So it's unclear how much we might get of that, but we might be able to tap into some of that as well to help them get more current as they hopefully get more current for us. As part of the budget negotiation reached over the summer, the General Assembly was authorized an additional $6 billion in state borrowing to begin to pay down some of that state debt. The Since the state budget negotiations passed over the summer, the RTA has been receiving PTF payments more regularly due to some of the provisions added within the budget bills. So a couple of months ago, we were talking about a very real cash flow crisis. We've sort of passed that, but the backlog still exists, which I think I talked to some of you a little bit about over the last week or so. Since that time, no new debt has been added to the RTA's backlog of state-owed money, and we hope that once the state begins to lower the overall backlog of its overall state debt, the RTA backlog will also continue to decrease. On the federal side, the focus for September and early October in Washington has been the FY18 budget resolution and comprehensive tax reform. President Trump met with House Democrats at the White House in September to discuss tax reform. During that meeting, House Democrats discussed tying infrastructure investment with that tax reform agenda. Specifically the idea of taxing repatriated overseas revenue to pay for infrastructure investment. While the president said he would like to keep tax reform and his infrastructure proposal separate, he did not completely shut the door on combining these two priorities if it looks like tax reform will not move forward on its own. On September 26, during a bipartisan meeting of House Ways and Means members, President Trump told lawmakers that he was in favor of abandoning public-private partnerships because they don't work, which is kind of a flip-flop on some of his earlier infrastructure proposals. This was, needless to say, a big surprise because I think everybody was sort of almost trying to retool their conversations around that concept. So the president and the administration have stressed that their infrastructure proposal will rely on, had been stressing it would rely on private investment. The White House's FY 2018 budget states that the federal government will provide $200 billion in funding to leverage $800 billion in additional private investment. So we're getting a lot of, needless to say, mixed messages out of all of this. The September 27, the tax reform blueprint agreed to by the White House, the House, and the Senate was also released. That blueprint did not specifically address any of our RTA priorities for shoring up the sustainability of the Highway Trust Fund. There was some language that could potentially be troublesome to the commuter tax benefit, which is something that we care a lot about too and is always on our federal agenda. In September, the RTA presented congressional delegation with its formal tax reform priorities in a letter calling for maintaining tax-exempt treatment of municipal bonds, keeping commuter transit benefits at their current level, and keeping them at parity with the parking benefit that the IRS provides. And we'll continue to stay engaged at the federal level. So next, I'd like to provide a quick update on the process for developing the 2018-2023 Regional Transit Strategic Plan. We actually touched on this a little bit earlier. Following the workshop that we had with you in August, Chairman Dillard and I, as he mentioned, visited all three service boards at their monthly meeting to actually make a formal presentation to them on the strategic planning work and solicit some of their feedback. I think we had good conversation about the importance of capital funding, the value of having a shared plan for investment as we make our individual and collective rounds in Springfield and in Washington. Staff also conducted a second and final stakeholder workshop for regional agency and county staff here on September 26th. We had about 40 representatives from 32 agencies come in and talk with us about the vision, the goals, and the strategies for moving forward. I think that was a pretty engaged group and really good feedback. Their stakeholders voiced their support for advocating for additional transit funding as well as working to make improvements with the transit system. As we've mentioned previously, CMAP is gathering feedback related to transit through their extensive public outreach on their On to 2050, more of a broader, longer-term, comprehensive plan for the region. So we've been doing a lot of partnering with them on that to also help guide some of our input as well. They shared that their information, the feedback that they've gotten with us, most of it was related to longer-term transportation trends and projects, but staff also looked into consideration of those results as the plan's being written. The draft plan, our strategic plan, is nearly complete. It'll be released for public comment in November. We will share a draft link to that information with you when that happens. In late November and early December, as you all know, we do 8 public hearings around the region as part of the budget process, but we are going to marry that with getting feedback on the strategic plan as well. We're combining those efforts with both the sort of the capital program, the budget, and the strategic plan. And we're on track to complete the plan in December, and we'll be looking for your adoption of that plan early next year. Almost need a magnifying glass for some of this, but this is a quick summary of the public hearings that are coming up. I know we've notified you independently to share those dates and locations with you. They're also on our website. This year we're doing them in combination with the same time we are actually making the county board presentations around the region. So an hour or so of presentation at the county board level to meet a statutory requirement, and then we will adjourn, and the counties have been gracious enough to give us some space in their location for us to actually host our broader public hearing. We hope to capitalize on actually having some people there that maybe come in and give us some feedback. So we're trying, again, to always be creative in how we try to get input from people. If you have any questions about these dates and your attendance, just let either myself or Audrey know on that as well. A brief snapshot of some of the other things that we've been doing in terms of promoting transit around the region. The RTA attended Mayor Emanuel's Senior Fest. 7,000 seniors enjoyed a full day of festival of fun and transit information at Millennium Park. The RTA and service boards joined cities across the globe to celebrate World Car Free Day on September 22nd by encouraging all those who typically drive personal vehicles to give public transit a try. And lastly, the RTA, along with CTA, Metro and PACE, the Illinois Department of Transportation, and the Tollway, were proud to host the 20th Annual Symposium and Business Exchange. This year we themed it the Battle of the Bids. That's the effort that we collectively do with those partners to try to promote and expand and enhance our business development opportunities with disadvantaged and minority-owned businesses across the region. And this new format, I think, was really well received and very well attended, and kind of created a little bit of a buzz, which was kind of what we're trying to do, so we weren't just doing the same old thing every year. The champion will be revealed at the main event on February 25th at the Stevens Convention Center in Rosemont. So it's been we're doing it as a couple of different meetings around the region as opposed to just one big one-day thing. And this and more information can be found on the RTA Ride On blog and on our social media pages as well. The GFOA has once again awarded the RTA the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for our fiscal year 2017 budget. This marks the 21st consecutive year that we've received this recognition. It's an achievement, is the highest award in government budgeting, and it reflects really our commitment of our governing body and staff to meeting the highest principles of governmental budgeting. This is a significant accomplishment, and for which I think really the credit goes to Treasury budget, the financial team, analysis team, planning, capital programming, and performance divisions, who really are to be commended for the great work that they put into actually doing the budgets, but then also receiving this award. And finally, Chairman Dillard received the 2017 Local Distinguished Service Award from the American Public Transit Association. APTA's Best Awards recognize excellence in public transportation industry in North America on an individual and on an organizational level. So congratulations to Chairman Dillard. You have worked tirelessly across the region, in Springfield, in Washington, to really advocate for the needs of public transportation and our transit riders. Our transit region is better for having your leadership. So please join me in congratulating Chairman Dillard for receiving this great award.
Thank you. I told you last month this award really belongs to all of you. I was in good company. The other recipient of this award was Mayor Kasim Reed, the mayor of Atlanta, who told the story of how he led an effort to have a referendum. There's a theme there with Congressman Schiff in L.A. and Atlanta, but how Atlanta is pouring billions more into their mass transit system, which is called MARTA. So, throughout the United States, Dallas, Seattle, L.A., New York spends, as I always remind people, we only spend 40% per capita in Chicago as to what New York City does, and we have a better system than they do. But every other major city in America is investing heavily in mass transit because they know its importance in economic development, especially to the new millennial and the generation that my daughters belong to, even younger than the millennials. And, everybody's moving forward on mass transit. I'm a little perplexed at why the state of Illinois, and I give Mayor Emanuel, he gets it. The city has put lots of money into mass transit. But if you want economic development, every other mayor and the governor in this, in this country, it clearly gets it with respect to the importance of mass transit. And it's more important today than it's probably ever been in our history. But thank you. This award belongs to everybody that's in this room. And, I told the staff that was there, you make us, the board members, look good every day. So couldn't do this without the best staff that's around. So thank you. All done. Okay. All right. Like the Cowardly Lion. Shucks, folks, I'm speechless, right? Item 6 is going to cover 3 special action items, and we'll take them all separately. The first is the resolution that's going to set the. It's all in your packet, and just wrote a little note to my wife and my law firm assistant. Make sure these babies are emblazoned in my schedule. You all should do the same. I know I think we sent most of you advance dates. Any questions or comments on the dates for next year's meeting? If not, can I have a motion and a second to accept these dates? Director Higgins moves, seconded by Director Durrani, that we establish in 6A the resolution setting the regular RTA meeting dates for next year. Is there leave for the attendance roll call? Seeing no objection, leave is granted. And
14 ayes, 2 absent.
Audrey, those are our dates for next year. 6B is a resolution honoring Jim Buchanan. Jim was on the phone, and we talked about him a little bit last month, but a great director. We have an awesome replacement. But Audrey, I know there's a resolution for Mr. Buchanan. If you have it in front of you, why don't you just go through it real fast before we adopt it?
Sure. I'm going to borrow Director Durrani's copy. Whereas James Buchanan has served as a member of the Regional Transportation Authority Board of Directors representing the residents of the City of Chicago since 2007, whereas Director Buchanan is respected and admired by his fellow board members and the staff of the RTA as a dedicated and concerned director, whereas Director Buchanan has served with distinction and dedication during both appointments as Vice Chair of the Finance Committee and on the Compensation and Human Resources Committee, whereas working with the Board of Directors, Director Buchanan helped oversee the prudent allocation of funding by programming dollars to the most needed infrastructure improvements in the region, whereas Director Buchanan has been a steadfast guardian of the taxpayer dollars of the region and served as a diligent advocate of efficiency and cost effectiveness, and whereas Director Buchanan's professional experience has provided guidance and perspective in RTA board deliberations. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Regional Transportation Authority hereby honors James Buchanan for his many years of conscientious and dedicated service to the people of northeastern Illinois and for his commitment to enhancing the stability and integrity of the region's public transportation system for all the residents. The end.
Great. The end. I love it. Thank you. Can I have Director Cotel moves that we approve this resolution honoring Jim Buchanan, seconded by Director Melvin. Is there leave for the attendance roll call on this one? Leave is granted. Audrey and Leanne, make sure Jim gets a copy of that. Thank you. Thank you very much. 6C is the ordinance adopting the RTA Title VI program for 2017 through 2020. Allison, if you want to say something and just kind of tell us what it is. I read it this week, but tell us what it is.
Okay, good morning, Chairman Dillard and members of the board. I'm here this morning to seek approval of the RTA's 2017 Title VI plan. I was last before you on this matter in October of 2014. The FTA requires that the RTA, as a recipient of federal funds, submit an updated Title VI plan that is approved by its board of directors every 3 years. Our next plan will be due in 2020. As a refresher, Title VI of the Civil Rights Act ensures that public services, including transportation, are provided in a non-discriminatory manner. The Act provides that, quote, no person in the U.S. shall, on the grounds of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance, end quote. Because the RTA is primarily an oversight and planning body rather than an operator, its direct interaction with the public is fairly limited. The RTA's Title VI plan sets forth how the RTA provides outreach to the public to ensure meaningful participation by low-income and minority and limited English proficiency, or LEP, persons in customer-facing programs. One example of how the RTA interacts with the public and ensures it is providing meaningful access is through the RTA travel training program. The RTA's travel training program operates throughout the city and provides one-on-one training for people with disabilities and older adults on how to use fixed route transportation. The trainers provide the services in English and Spanish, and instruction is available in other languages as well. Some examples of how the RTA ensures that it's meeting the needs of individuals with limited English proficiency is through providing telephone translation services for customer service calls, providing translators for paratransit eligibility determination and appeals, providing information on RTA's website regarding how to request translation services at public meetings, and by using pictographs and universal icons where possible on the RTA's website. The Title VI plan can be found on the website. It's posted at RTA's offices on public bulletin boards, and it's also posted at the ADA certification sites on the public bulletin boards. At this time, I ask that the board approve the 2017 Title VI plan and ordinance, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions or comments? One of the things I thought was pretty neat, Allison, was the breakdown of all the different languages that our neighbors speak. I mean, it really is mind-boggling to see, and it's a strength of Chicago, the diversity. And then the other thing in Susan Masal's presentation that we have been trying to focus on, Chicago had a record number of visitors last year, many of them from foreign countries and foreign business people. And I always think it's really cool when when I get on the L or a bus and I see tourists from all over the world who are probably used to taking transportation, looking at one of our RTA maps to try to figure out how to get to the Museum of Science and Industry or wherever they're going. But the breakdown on just the sheer number of languages was pretty cool. Director Melvin, you got a question or comment? You want to make a motion? No, that's fine. Okay. But we need to adopt 6C. So is there a motion on 6C? In a second, Director Pang moves, Director Melvin seconds, that we approve 6C, our Title VI resolution. Is there leave for the attendance roll call? Seeing no objection, leave is granted.
14 ayes, 2 absent.
Super, thank you. Next are the item 7 consent items. The first is the ordinance adopting the restatement of our RTA pension plan. Any questions that weren't asked in the earlier committee on that? I'm trying to think. Yeah, we can take probably all these together, I think. 7B is the ordinance authorizing the ICE project amendment. 7C is the ordinance authorizing, for better or for worse, our necessary short-term borrowing option. I shouldn't even say S anymore. B, option. Can we take these all on one roll call? Can I have a motion to adopt them? So moved by Director Christopher Melvin, seconded by J.D. Ross. Is there leave for the attendance roll call? Seeing no objection, leave is granted.
14 ayes, 2 absent.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Item 8 is the approval of contract and expenditure items. As they appear on the board agenda, these items include 8A, which is the ordinance authorizing a contract with CDW for disaster recovery and various IT infrastructure upgrades. 8B is an ordinance authorizing a contract for integrated marketing and communication services. 8C is an ordinance approving the contract for RTAMS hosting and enhancement of our GIS support. And 8D are travel reimbursements now required to come before the full board. Any questions on any of those? If not, can I have a motion in a second?
No. I'd like
yes.
to pull 8C.
8C, you want to pull that? Yes. Okay, we'll come back to 8C. So how about a motion on 8A, 8B, and 8D? Director DeWitt moves, seconded by Director Fuentes, that 8A, 8B, and 8D be approved. Their leave for the attendance roll call on those. Seeing no objection, leave is granted, and
14 ayes and 2 absent.
those will be reported. 8C is the ordinance approving the contract. Director Hobson, you have a question or comment?
Yeah, this is for $550,000 over a period of 5 years. Of that, $20,000 per year or $100,000 is actually for hosting. The remainder is for other uses, including improvements, transfers, and whatnot. I've asked a number of questions on this, and I haven't been satisfied that the additional $450,000 is justified at this point in time. So I have serious concerns about this particular item.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? So let's have, I need a motion in a second on 8C. Can somebody make the motion on 8C? Director Fuentes moves, seconded by Director Durante. And with that, Audrey, take a roll call, please.
Okay. Director DeWitt?
Yes.
Director Durante?
Yes.
Director Frega? Director Fuentes?
Aye.
Director Higgins? Aye. Director Hobson?
No.
Director Cotel? Aye. Director Lewis?
Aye.
Director McGallis?
Aye.
Director Melvin?
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
Director Pang?
Yes.
Director Ross?
Yes.
Director Troiani?
Yes.
Chairman Dillard?
Aye.
12 ayes, 2 nays, and 2 absent.
Okay, great. That'll be so reported. Item 9 is new business. Is there any new business to come before the board today? I don't see any. So last but not least, adjournment. Always generally a good thing. Director Pang moves that we adjourn, seconded by Director Frega. And all those in favor signify by leaving. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.